Well, hello. It's been a while. I noticed recently that I have never done a video on anxiety per se, which is really odd because one, I suffer from anxiety myself. Two, I see a lot of patients who suffer with anxiety. Three, most of us have anxiety at some point. It's the single most general catch-all bucket you can put our problems into as human beings. We worry. So I wanted to address this after my long hiatus in posting with a brief video on working with anxiety using ACT skills. So first of all, as with any troublesome experience, a big part of the problem is our attempt to avoid the experience. This is this experiential avoidance that ACT research has focused on and ACT theory is focused on. This attempt not to have what you already have. What ACT author Stephen Hayes talks about is if you're not willing to have it, then you've got it. Or I might say if you're not willing to have it, then it's probably going to snowball and spin a little out of control. If we're willing to have it, it's not necessarily going to go away. So working with this anxiety then, let's say I'm anxious, which from time to time I am. The first issue, before we get to anything else, is why are we working with the anxiety? Because if the reason is so that we can crush it out of existence, we're probably not going to succeed. And we're probably going to just kind of strengthen our whole behavioral tendency to avoid unpleasant experiences that might in fact be derailing some aspects of our lives, that might be interfering with valued living. So first of all, we have to look at our goal, that the goal would be skillful if it is conceived in terms of perhaps coping, but better to continue functioning and to continue pursuing the things that are important to us, to continue valued living with the anxiety. So if that's our goal, what do we then do so that we can free our hands up, as I'll often talk about, rather than using our hands to struggle against the anxiety, to have free hands and let the anxiety be there? What can we do? First of all, diffusion. So noticing what the anxiety story is. And anxiety, we are so wired for that set of emotions. They're so painful, but we're wired for them. A billion years of evolution has seen to it that we're wired for a whole range of different kind of anxieties. Now, I'll distinguish between anxiety and fear. Fear is an emotion that we feel a full body reaction in response to a clear and present danger. Well, let's say a car is speeding right at you and might hit you. It's the equivalent of a tiger jumping at you if you were on the African savanna during our evolution some 100,000 years ago. So fear is fine. It just helps us out. Anxiety, on the other hand, doesn't tend to help us out too much. Without going off on a digression, there could be some context in which it helps. But generally speaking, because we tend to struggle with it, because it really invites a struggle, it's so irritating and unpleasant and aversive that we sometimes just grind to a halt in our activity. So first of all, to notice the anxiety story. It's about something that's not there. We're not talking about fear because of some imminent threat of destruction to the body. We're talking about worry in one form or another, whether it's on the level of panic and the heart's pounding like it's going to jump out of your mouth, or whether it's just a kind of milder anxiety where you kind of feel it in your body and you're worrying about something, or somewhere in between, or some variant like obsessive compulsive tendencies or hair pulling, whatever behaviors that might go along with anxiety that we do to try to maybe avoid the experience a little bit. Whatever it is, there's always a story. There's always some thoughts involved. If we practice awareness and mindfulness of thought, we'll notice some thoughts involved. So perhaps my anxiety might be, and in fact, I don't really worry very much about my videos anymore, but let's say I did, and I was worried that this was not going to be a successful video. Those of you who have been watching can tell that they're unscripted and that I don't edit. So obviously, if I were terribly anxious, they wouldn't look like this. But let's say I was, and certainly the first one I shot, I was. There's a story here. It's not about what's happening right now per se, and it's certainly not about a physical threat to my body. Very unlikely anyone would come and kill me as a result of recording videos about acceptance and commitment therapy and relational frame theory and jazz like that. So it's not a clear and present threat. It's a social threat, and it's not happening right now. There's no one in the room. So it's all going on in my thoughts. It's all fusion. It's all me taking my thoughts seriously, saying, oh, what would happen if this video turned out really crummy? And what if a lot of people said thumbs down? And what if this, and then what if that? And what if is a common stem for an anxiety? So noticing what the story is an important piece of it. Now, I'm thinking maybe we'll stop here and I'll go on to willingness in the next part of this video. Sound good? Yeah, I thought so. Okay.